Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Training Tuesday. I'm your host, Jacklyn, and let's get started. So, I'm going to first of all start off with graded stake entries for the week. Um, just because the season has started, I have a bunch that are coming up. So, we'll take a look at them and see what we can do to get them ready for a race, and then we're going to jump into training some horses. So first up we have Nitrogen. So it's the 3-year-old filly that I have running in the A Stitch in Time Stakes, which is a prep race for the Oaks. So she definitely needs a workout, and she's sitting good, looking ready for this race on the weekend. So I'm gonna give her a breeze because her form's at 81%. IR is great. I have no concerns there. So let's just give her this breeze and see where she lands. 93%. Not too bad. Not what I would like, but not too bad. So the thing is it's Tuesday, so this race is on Saturday, I think. Hold on, just waiting for this page to finish loading. I've been having some connectivity issues lately, so I do apologize for that. So graded stake, it is Saturday, so that means we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so that's 3 health and energy updates, which right now would definitely put her at 2020. If I gave her a jog, she'd drop a little bit more. It's a bit tough to make that call. I think I'm going to keep her at 93% form rather than risk her health and energy being too low if I were to give her a jog, just to help try and bring up that form. Because a jog still isn't a guarantee that I'm going to be next to 100 as well. So I don't think I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to play it safe. She might not run as well as I would hope, which could end up dashing her hopes for the a start in the Oaks. But we'll see how things go this week. All right. Next up, we have Roman Ally. This horse, I believe, is running in a championship race. Yep, so Canada championship race. This horse is looking pretty good here. I'm assuming a lot of jogs in a row. Yep. So I'm going to jog this horse again, knowing that this horse is going to come out of this race in really rough shape. So this race will have this horse exiting. That did not give much of an increase. So this is what I was worried about as well with the filly. Was giving the jog, losing the 3 points of health and energy and not actually ticking that form up much. So it really wasn't worth a gamble for that case. A little disappointing for this guy. Honestly, losing a little bit of hope that he's going to run any well this weekend. But we'll see what happens. He'll undoubtedly come out with very low form and high IR and need a little bit of time to recover from this race. So start of his season is going to be a little bit slow. That's okay. Action Plan, this horse is entered in the overall championship. He had a super season last year. He's been second in a graded stake. Which one was that? That was the Bold Command Stakes. Actually, this was his last start. So he's coming off of a really good effort there. 131 and finished second. That was a crazy competitive race. Um, so this horse is in pretty good shape. Last trained on April 3rd with a jog, 96% form. I'm going to sit on this horse and just let him run. I don't want to take a chance that I'm going to, mess up his form anymore. So I'm just going to leave him here. 96 is pretty good, and we should be good for it to go. Speedy Pants is next. This one is in the CoverGirl Sprint on Sunday. So this is an older mare that's been pretty consistent, pretty good little runner here. Had a workout on March 26th, ran on the 30th, so I definitely want to train. She's looking really nice right now, but I'm going to give her a jog and just see how she comes out of that. Just because I don't like to race back to back at all. I'd rather drop her form down than try to run back to back. And she's stuck at around 99%. Jogs seem to be very light for me tonight, so that's good to know. And she should be good to go for Sunday. So there we go. All the graded runners are set today for the weekend, and we don't have to worry about them anymore. All right, so now I'm going to go to the training center and we'll take a look at whether or not I have any 2-year-olds to train. I might not because I just trained a bunch yesterday, so I might need to change some of my things around. Nope, I have some. Perfect. So one thing I'll point out, I pointed this out in the last video, but we weren't quite training 2-year-olds yet. So one thing that I found that helps me is in the training preferences, you can actually, so as you might have noticed, I just actually did this, is I set the age of 2-year-olds. I like to train them separately, at least until probably about midway through the season when I start just treating them all as older horses. But for now, I want to have a little bit more of a tailored approach to them. But one of the key things that I'll do for at least their first workout is I'll separate them out by their surface. So I'll select dirt only or turf only. The key to this, the reason why I do this is that it makes it a little bit easier when I give them their first workouts to select the proper surface. So we actually have a thread going on in the forums right now, a bunch of folks who have done this and did the same thing that I've also done in the past as well. As you set this to turf only, and then you select all your horses and you train them. And you don't think about the fact that you need to update their surface. So by default, for their very first workout, you have to select their surface. So if they are, it'll always default to dirt. So it's a good thing to go through, select turf only, and then you just have to keep in mind that you need to manually update their workout surface to turf. And once you do it once, you're all set and you don't have to do it again. If you have accidentally trained your turf horse on the dirt, do not panic. You can just switch the surface to turf at any time, and you might notice a nice little improvement in their workout ratings as they'll run a little bit better during their workouts if they're on the right surface. All right, so I'm going to leave that as all surfaces because I've already switched up all the surfaces for these horses. I'm going to close that. Now you might notice the workouts that I have preloading on these horses are 2 furlongs handily. So how I like to start out my horses is I will give them 2 furlongs and then I'll graduate up to 3 furlongs and then up to 4 furlongs. And I'll keep these all as handily workouts except for the first 4 furlong workout where I'll do a 4 furlong workout from the gates. And gates are very important to make sure you get at least one of those in before their first race because that will reveal their running style, which is definitely a thing you need to know to have them perform well. So highly recommend that you do a handily workout for the gates at some point before the first race. It could be their very first workout if you so desire. I just have gotten into this pattern and it just seems to work, and my brain will just, you know, subconsciously figure everything out for me when I'm doing this. So that's just sort of why I'm doing that. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I do recommend starting at 2 furlongs and then graduating up from there. You can do gradual 2 to 3, or you can go 2 to 4 and then just stick with your 4s after that. It's totally up to you. I do highly recommend handily though. And the reason for this is because you really want to focus on improving their invisible stats, the things that you can't see. So not their form, not their injury risk, not their health or energy. None of those things matter right now. You really, I mean, they matter a little bit, and I'll get into that in a second. But you really want to focus on improving their speed and their stamina and all those other things that are underlying that make up your horse. Handily workouts give them the most improvement to their stats. So at least the potential for the most improvement to their stats. So I highly recommend using handily, at least to get them started. Um, you will notice that their form will change drastically. That's because a handily workout has a really high impact on their form. So they will go from a 90 down to a 70 something or a 60 something, and that's completely normal. Their form does not matter right now because they're not racing. Form only matters when they're racing. So just keep that in mind. Form does impact their workout rating though, but it doesn't impact how well the workout helps them. So, for example, your 2-year-olds for their very first race. I know I'm going on a little bit of a tangent before I actually train my horses here today, but I think this is all really useful stuff as we all get started with our 2-year-olds here. But you'll notice a lot of the time, almost every single time, when you give your horse a workout for the very first time, it's all great and dandy. You have this wonderful rating because they probably came out of their 2-year-old of their yearling training with really high form. So that first workout, they come out, they're flying, they're fresh. This is fun. We're going fast. This is great. High workout. Maybe you get an 80 or a 90 workout. Then the next workout, which we're going to see here right now, actually, when I go to train these horses, all of a sudden it drops, like maybe even 10 or more points in workout rating. So you might think, oh my gosh, I have a dud on my hands, but that's not the case at all. It's usually just the form that is impacting your workout rating to go a little bit lower the second time around. So try to keep that in mind as you're working forward. Sometimes that form can impact the workout rating, and that's why they'll bounce a little bit in between, but just keep an eye on their trend over time because you want to give them a good number of workouts before you sort of make up your decision as to whether or not they're going in the right direction. Because some horses might be really slow to improve, but as long as you see a little bit of improvement, that's always a good sign that your horse is at least moving in the right direction. All right, so with that, one other thing I'll touch on is injury risk. So injury risk is something that also came up on a thread that's on the forums right now. Do not worry about injury risk the same way as you wouldn't worry about form. but keep in mind that you don't want to give them a workout if they're at 80% or above. So that rule applies to the older horses and it still applies to 2-year-olds. Form at 80% and above, you want to bring that down to a jog with a jog or a swim or something like that. You don't want to give them a strong gallop or a workout because that is going to probably result in a bad training session. And that's pretty much one of the few ways that you can actually have a bad training session is if you give them a hard workout with high injury risk. So if you notice a 2-year-old coming in with an 80 or up, give them a jog, help bring that down, and then you can resume your regularly scheduled training sessions. Um, but otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it at all. You know, you're not looking to race them right now. Racing for the 2-year-old starts on the 15th, so that's completely up to you if you want to start racing on the 15th or not. Um, I tend to let the horses sort of guide me there. If they look like they're ready with their workout ratings, then I'll think, okay, this horse is getting ready to race, so let's switch to breezing workouts, for example, to try and get the form where I want it. Or let's throw in a couple more jogs to bring the IR down to where I'm comfortable, which if you've been watching these videos knows it's pretty high, so there might only be a couple of jogs there. Um, but that's sort of the approach that I'll take. If you are targeting a specific date to start them, then you can keep that in mind as you're training your horses to make sure that they're poised to be ready to race by the 15th, and then you can switch on your breezing and jogs and things like that. But I recommend letting the horses sort of let you know when they're ready to go. But again, everybody has their own way, and sometimes starting them early, as long as they're ready to start early, can help poise them for more success in the 2-year-old stake races. Um, Whereas if you wait to run them too late, then you might not get the earnings to get into those races. So lots of things to consider, lots of things to experiment with and try. So I recommend, just seeing what you can do and see what works for you over time. So, all right, that was a lot to go through. Thanks. You're still with me here, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to graduate all these guys up to 3 furlongs. Um, I'm not seeing any high IR yet, although there's a couple that are sitting around 70, so they'll probably be pretty high soon. It's pretty wild to see how each 2-year-old is so different because like I have the one up here that's at 70%, but then there's this guy here that's at 17%, you know, and they've mostly all went through the same sort of training regime. The light gallops all as often as possible and then they all started off with their 2 furlong handily workouts, but here we are with quite the disparity between IRs. All right, they're all set to 3 furlongs, so away they go. Now I'll show you once this loads some of the drops that we can see. So this horse here had a 96. It was higher than usual, so it could have been a 91 before anyways, but it has dropped down to a 91 for sure this time. This one here started at a 91 now to an 87. So that's all because of form. So you can see the form has now sort of recorrected back up to 96. So by the time this horse goes to train again, we'll probably see a jump that should be an improvement over this one. Should be. Might not be. This was higher than usual, so sometimes, it might be a little bit iffy, but, then we'll start to see that trend over time as the horse keeps having more workouts. A lot of the same coming through here, like dropping to a 78, and an 81. All very, very normal. I don't really look at any of their workout ratings right now, unless I see something that really jumps out as a high rating. But it's the 5th. They're not racing right now, so I might as well just keep training them and then sort of take stock again in a week or so as we get ready for the races. So just 2 horses here to train now. Switch them to 3 furlongs. Going to train them, and now they're done. So there we go. And you might have seen I have a lot of horses that are sitting in the 80s with workouts right now. We'll see what happens with them and go from there. So I've had a lot of nice horses that have started off from pretty meager beginnings, 70s, 80s. So I wouldn't discount those, even if you have something that's even lower. A lot has to do with their breeding and things along those lines too, how much yearling training they've had, prepping to come into their 2-year-old season. There's a lot of factors. So I still strongly stand by just seeing how they improve over a few workouts, like at least 4 or 5 workouts, if not more, before making any rash decisions. Now, if you have a horse that's trainer consulting, to like the 40,000 claiming range, unless the parents are really were unraced, for example. Um, Probably not going to see a lot of improvement out of that kind of a horse. But they can be a fun experiment too. You never know what can happen. And we've seen a lot of diamonds in the rough over the years, so I can't really discount much off the bat. So we just went through and did a lot of the usual things that we do. High IR gets a jog, high form gets a jog, high form gets a jog, low form, really low form gets handily, below 80 gets handily, jog, 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 handily, jog, breezing for 80, and then handily for the 67. So um, there we go for that. And here we are. So we can start entering. This horse has had a rough career, 5 wins and 19 starts. Dang. All right, so firm, heavy, and slow. See what we can find. Thursday's too quick. I'm gonna push out. You know what? Good is fair. I'm gonna go with that. Run this horse Friday. He has kind of lowish form, so I'm not expecting a lot. I just want to get a race into him, and we'll go from there. Fast, good, slow. See what we can find. I'm gonna enter out just because 70% form or 70% IR. We'll see what we can find. I think I might go for the muddy race. There's a lot of muddy, sloppy stuff. I'll go for Sunday. Gives enough time for the IR to drop a little bit down. Then we'd be good to go. Elusive Dancer, this horse is nominated for a graded stake, so I'm going to open this horse in a new tab, and I'll come back to that horse later. Haute Couture, muddy, good, and sloppy. There's muddy coming up, so let's go for muddy. Tuesday, nominators at 2. Perfect. A little bit far out, but not a problem for that horse. That one's not ready to go. Kitty Cat Dance. I've trained this horse on this show already. Fast, good, and slow. Fast on Thursday is just a little too quick, especially because I gave her him a handily. So he's 16. Definitely don't want to run that back that fast, because it would only be one health and energy update. That's not enough to get up to a good place, in my opinion. So I'm gonna opt for a good track listed stake on the weekend. He has really high form, 99%, so let's go for that. I think that'll be a good race for him. Protected, firm, soft, and yielding. There's a soft listed stake. She has really nice form right now, so I definitely want to go for a listed stake with this horse. And Rectitude, also nominated. Gonna open a new tab, and we'll come back to that horse. Royal Saffron, also nominated. Open up in a new tab. I'll talk about why I'm doing that in a second as well. Fast, muddy, and slow. We have muddy, sloppy. Sloppy's fair. Yeah, let's do that. We'll go there. Smitten Kitten. I'm going to sit on this horse and give this horse a jog just because I think he or she could be in a little bit better spot to run for the first time this season. Swift Crossings had a couple jogs in a row, so I'm just going to run this horse now. Fast, slow, muddy. You know what? Let's just go for good on Friday. Numbers of 1. Looks good. Thermodynamic. I'm going to give this horse a jog as well, just to bring down that IR a little bit more and increase that form. And Theta Centauri. Fast, soft, and good. Yeah, I'm going to go for the listed stake. I think this horse is going to run well. All right, so I opened up a few tabs for horses that are nominated. So what I usually do, and I think I've done this before on the show, but I'm just going to go through it one more time, is what I'll do is I'll validate where they are in the nomination rankings. So this horse is 10 out of 20. So I feel pretty confident this horse is going to make the field at this point. Very possible that I could still get kicked out, but usually when it's taking last season's and this season's earnings, one race doesn't usually make that much of a difference. Could be totally wrong. I might be sitting on the alsos or off the list completely next week, but I'm going to wait this horse rather than try to cram a race in this week. Even it is a Wednesday race on the 20th. You know what? I'm going to run this horse only because this race is on a Wednesday on the 20th and we're at the 5th. So that's 2 weeks, 2 weeks basically to get a race in and run. I might end up regretting this. We'll see what ends up happening, but I think I can get a race into this horse very soon. There's a good race on Friday. and that'll give enough time for the horse to recover and train again for the Wednesday race. So um, did have 2 jogs in a row. She might, uh, I might be regretting my choice, but I'm going to take a chance on that. My logic seems sound, but the horse might end up exiting the race with in a little bit of rough shape. So we'll see how it goes. All right, Rectitude. This horse is nominated for a credit stake, which you can't see the nomination list for, because otherwise it would sort of deter people from wanting to nominate if you already knew that you weren't going to make the field. Um, this horse had a pretty good season last season, I think. 204,000. I think that I'm going to sit on this horse and just see if they make it. They may or may not make it, and then at that point I can just run them. Royal Saffron is currently third for the Hershey's Classic, so I'm not going to run this horse. I'm going to just sit on this horse and get him as ready as I can. He is 7 going into the stake race. I've been a bit on the fence about that. He hasn't really been running that great, but I think he's worth a shot, and we'll see how that goes. So that's that. We've trained all the horses today. We've entered them all in races. We've talked about a lot of stuff with 2-year-olds. Hopefully that wasn't information overload. I know it's quite a bit of rambling as well, but you've bared with me up to this point, so thanks for sticking around. If you have any more questions, definitely feel free to head over to the forums. There's some great discussions going on. A lot of players have been sharing their input and tips about how they handle their 2-year-olds. So I think there's a lot of really great content there to look through as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly or reach out to the community. There's a lot of great people who are willing to help. So with that, I will wish you the best of luck in the races.